Hi, boys and girls. Thank you for joining me today here on the Reading Angels channel. We've been following along in the Candle Bible for Kids, and today we're going to be reading the story of Joseph and his brothers. Jacob had a big family of 12 sons. He loved every one of them, but Jacob loved his young son Joseph more than all the others. One day Jacob gave Joseph a fantastic coat. How smart he looked. His brothers felt very jealous. Why should Joseph get all the best presents? So here's Joseph in his wonderful coat. Sometimes Joseph had strange dreams. He loved to describe them to his brothers. I had the weirdest dream, he told them one day. We each had a bundle of grain. Then your bundles of grain all bowed down to mine. Joseph's brothers were cross. So you think we should all bow down to you? Asked one. You're no better than us, said another. Joseph here, explaining his dreams or describing his dreams to his brother and them being cross. Sometime later, Jacob called for Joseph. Your brothers have gone away with the sheep, he said. Take some food to them. So off Joseph went. Joseph's brothers saw him coming. Here comes our brother, the dreamer, said one. Let's get rid of him, said another. But a kinder brother said, don't hurt Joseph. Let's throw him down this dry well. He planned to rescue Joseph when his brothers had gone. So here's the whale and his brothers discussing what they should do with Joseph once he arrives. When Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off his coat and threw him into the well. Then they saw some traders passing. Let's sell Joseph, said one brother. So they sold their young brother Joseph. They took his torn coat to old Jacob. Look, father, they said, pretending to be sad. We found Joseph's special coat, the one you gave him. A wild animal must have killed him. No one could comfort Jacob. So here is Jacob, Joseph's father, with the torn coat, because he had been told that a wild animal must have gotten Joseph. Meanwhile, the traders took Joseph to the land of Egypt. Joseph was sad. Never again would he see the people he loved. The traders brought Joseph to a market where people came to buy slaves. A rich Egyptian called Potiphar saw Joseph and brought him to work in his house. So here's Joseph in Egypt, being sold as a slave to Potiphar. Joseph worked hard for Potiphar, but Potiphar's wife came to dislike Joseph, so she lied about him to her husband. Potiphar threw Joseph into prison, but in prison everyone liked Joseph. Before long, the governor put Joseph in charge of his prison. So here's Joseph when he arrives in prison after being disliked and lied on by Potiphar's wife. The king's cupbearer and the king's baker were thrown into prison. One night both men had strange dreams. What did they mean? They asked Joseph. Joseph explained to the cupbearer, in 3 days Pharaoh, king of Egypt, will send for you, and you will work for him again. Then Joseph spoke to the baker. I'm sorry, but your dream means that Pharaoh will have you put to death. So here is Joseph explaining the dreams to the king's servants and telling them what their dreams meant. "Please remember me when you see Pharaoh," said Joseph to the cupbearer as he left prison. "I don't want to stay in prison the rest of my life." But the cupbearer forgot all about Joseph once he was back in Pharaoh's palace. Joseph here with the cupbearer. No, I'm sorry. I believe this is, let's see, let me just quickly look over here. No, that is the cupbearer. A picture of the cupbearer here that was in prison for a short time with Joseph and had a dream, and now he's back with Pharaoh. But he has unfortunately forgotten to mention Joseph to Pharaoh. Then one night Pharaoh had two strange dreams. He described his dreams to his wise men. "I saw 7 fat cows come out of the river," said Pharaoh. "Then 7 skinny cows swallowed up the 7 fat cows. In my second dream, 7 good ears of grain were growing. Then 7 bad ears ate up the good ears of grain. Whatever do my dreams mean?" "We don't know," said the wise men. So Pharaoh sent them all away. Here's a picture of Pharaoh being puzzled and his wise men being puzzled about what is the meaning of his dreams. At that very moment, the cupbearer remembered Joseph. "O Pharaoh," he said, "in your prison is a young man who can explain dreams. Then send for him at once." Soon Joseph was standing before Pharaoh dressed in new clothes. "I will tell you my dreams," said Pharaoh. "Then you must explain to me what they mean." So here's a picture of Joseph all cleaned up and placed before Pharaoh, who has been told about Joseph and his ability to interpret dreams. So Pharaoh told his dreams again. Joseph said, "Both dreams mean the same thing. The 7 fat cows are 7 years of rich harvest. The 7 skinny cows are 7 years with no harvest. The 7 good ears of grain are also 7 years of plenty. And the 7 poor ears are 7 hungry years. God sent these dreams to warn you," Joseph told Pharaoh. "In the 7 years of plenty, everyone will have enough to eat. But in the 7 years of hunger, there will be no food." So here is a picture showing the 7 years of plenty with the fatter cows and the 7 years of lack with the skinny cows and the no grain, the failing grain versus the healthy harvest grain. Pharaoh looked worried. "You've explained my dreams," he said. "Now tell me how to stop my people from starving in the bad years." "Find a wise man to rule Egypt for you," said Joseph. "He must build storehouses and hoard part of the harvest in the good years until the bad years come. Then open up the storehouses and sell the grain to the hungry so they can make bread to eat." So a picture of Joseph here explaining to Pharaoh what he should do. Pharaoh chose Joseph to become his chief minister. He took off his royal ring and put it on Joseph's finger. For the next 7 years, Joseph stored part of the harvest in great barns. When the hungry years came, the barns were opened and the people were given grain. The Egyptians had enough food even during the worst of the famine. So this here is a picture of the 7 plenteous years and an abundance of grain now being stored up in preparation of those years that will be to come. When the hungry years came, Jacob and his family in Canaan had no grain. But Jacob heard there was food in Egypt. Go to Egypt and buy grain, he told his sons. Benjamin, his youngest, stayed at home with old Jacob. When Joseph saw his brothers, he knew who they were, but they didn't recognize him. "You're spies," he said to test them. "No," they replied, we've simply come to buy food." Joseph gave them food, but said if they returned, they must bring Benjamin. So here's a picture of Joseph with his brothers, and they've come to purchase grain. But they don't know that Joseph is Joseph. The brothers took the grain back to Jacob, but soon they needed more. The brothers returned to Egypt, taking Benjamin with them. Joseph had a silver cup in Benjamin's sack of grain. Then Joseph hid a silver cup in Benjamin's sack of grain, then cried, "My silver cup's missing. Who stole it?" When they found the cup in Benjamin's sack, Joseph said, "Benjamin couldn't go home with the others," but his brothers begged Joseph not to keep Benjamin in Egypt. "It will kill our father Jacob," they wept. So here is a picture of that stolen cup being found in Benjamin's sack, or the supposedly stolen cup, because it was actually placed there by Joseph. Joseph saw that his brothers had changed, so that was the test. They were no longer cruel as they had been when they sold him years before. "I'm Joseph, your brother," he told them. "You once sold me. Now hurry home and bring father to Egypt." How glad Jacob was to find his beloved son Joseph again. This is how God's people, the Israelites, came to live in Egypt. So here is a picture of Joseph and his father Jacob being reunited. And this is from Genesis chapter 37. So boys and girls, if you would like to color along with me, if you'd like me to send you the coloring sheets that correspond with these Bible stories, then please click the link above. And if you enjoyed this video, thank you for liking it, and thank you for subscribing. And by the way, get ready. The next Bible story we're going to be reading is The Baby in the Basket, and that one is the story of Moses. So stay tuned, and don't forget about your coloring pictures to follow along. Have a blessed day in Jesus' name.